Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's bullshit, but we can't take no chances. Gfanatic 94 is not giving any of those communist cunts at YouTube the chance to fuck him over. So unfortunately, if you're under the age of 18, you gotta get out of here. Don't worry. We're gonna fight this war. But we need an army to do so.
Alright, so with a stellar movie like Godzilla vs. Kong being the last episode, surely that's the last episode of the Godzillathon, right? Wrong! Because believe it or not, well, despite the failure that was the Netflix original anime trilogy, Godzilla was getting another anime. And good God, was it so much better than the first attempt. Alright, Noah, we have made it a long way, sir. Despite all the fucking computer glitches and shit, we have finally made it to the last entry in the Godzilla franchise. Godzilla Singular Point. Now, are you ready to finish this off?
I very well am indeed, sir.
Alrighty. Godzilla Singular Point. This show is fucking brilliant. Way better than the Godzilla anime trilogy, actually. And, yeah, Noah, is there anything you'd like to say before we get started?
Amazingly blended animation with CGI.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Godzilla Singular Point is, it's, I think it has the most potential, to make Godzilla more iconic than he already is, out of all the modern franchises so far. No, is it, is there, confirmation that there's gonna be a season 2 for Singular Point, or is that just rumor?
It's not fully confirmed yet, but it is, I believe, currently in the works. It's just gonna take a long while to come out.
Yeah. Well, as we saw with
the
the first two seasons of Dragon Ball Super, you don't want to rush any anime, otherwise it's just gonna look bad.
Yeah.
So yeah. Not to say Dragon Ball Super looked bad, but I will say that the Battle of Gods and Golden Frieza Saga, when they first aired, were fucking terrible to look at.
Oh god, especially with the first fight with Goku and Beerus. Oh god.
Yeah. Definitely the movies are better. But yeah, that's Dragon Ball. That's not Godzilla. So, here we go. Let's go ahead and list off the cast. Do you want to do so, or do you want me to, Noah?
Since it's the last official Goji product we have until unless we want to talk about the whole anniversary videos, half of them, and you can list the other half.
Alrighty, works for me.
Alright, as always, we're going to cover the Japanese actors.
And only the Japanese actors, because we don't really want to be here for too long.
Yes. We have Yume Miyamoto as Mei Kamino. We also have Shoya Isige, there we go, as Yun Arikawa. Taro Koichi as Haburo Kato. Wataru Takagi as Goro Taki. Ayako Takichi as fucking, wait, hold on, let me get Satomi Kanahara. We got Misaki Kuno as totally 100% the best character of the show. Phillips too.
Yeah, fellow too. God damn it. Yeah, we're gonna be talking a lot about that little guy.
We have Rie Kugimiya as Yun and Jet the Jaguar.
Mm-hmm.
Yahoi Azakami as Shunya Sato. And the last one I'm gonna list is actually no, I'm gonna list 3 more.
Okay.
Yahoi Azakami as Shunya. Wait, did I write? Oh yeah. Yohei Azakami as Shunya Sato. Jin Uyama as Shunatomo Yamamoto. And then we have Katori Koiwa as Yuki Konoko. Alright, take it away from here, man.
Alright. Yeah, next up we have Kenichi Suzumura as Tekihiro Kai. We have Kaho Koda as Guiying Li. I hope I pronounced that right. We have Ryotaro Okaya as Birach Bibi Birney? Whatever. Then we have Runa Onodera as Lena Byrne. Tomoyuki Shimura as Yoshiyasu Matsubara. Hiromichi Tezuka as Mikita K. Nakagawa. We have Masako Shut up, dog! Alright. Then we have Masako Isobe as Tilda Miller. Oh, I hate that bitch. Then we have Kenta Miyake as Michael Steven. The most American stereotypical name and character in any anime you will ever see. And this show also has two directors, Noriyuki Nomata and Takuma Suzuki. Both of which have some very interesting ideas that they put into this show, and, well, I mean, some of it works, some of it didn't. And also, before we move on, I do want to point out the soundtrack for this film. The music designer, Ken Sawada, he did a goddamn phenomenal job with this show's soundtrack, because my god, dude. It's not as good as GMK in my opinion, but the soundtrack in this show sounds almost freaking ethereal. Like I said in GMK, it sounds amazing. And yeah, dude, I mean, just perfect music beats, perfect timing, perfect sound cues. Just everything about the soundtrack of this show is spot on, and I love it. That being said, though, Noah, would you like to get into the movie itself? Or not the movie, the show itself.
Movie?
Well, it is
Man, if we get
basically
a
a movie.
movie.
It's a 13-episode long epic.
I mean, if we do get a movie of Godzilla single point, that shit would be off the charts.
Yeah.
Animation would be. Mwah.
Oh, it would. You ready to get this started?
Yes, sir.
Alright, let's get the brief rundown going. It all begins with chaos when a giant bird, soon named Rodan, attacks a small neighborhood in Japan. The Rodan is defeated swiftly by a robot named Jet Jaguar, who was built by a company called Otaki Factory. The chaos turns to confusion as this Rodan is an anomaly with a biological structure and habits unknown to human science. The mystery only deepens when more monsters, including flocks of thousands of Rodan, begin to appear. Meanwhile, a young girl named Mei Kamino uses pseudoscience that amounts to... there's no way to describe it. Bullshit! To find out about a singular point. The singular point is a point in space-time that, once it becomes strong enough, will destroy or have the power to destroy the universe. The singular point is discovered when a giant monster appears, named Godzilla. Now the mission is clear. Can Otaki Factory and Mei Kamino find a way to stop the quote-unquote catastrophe before Godzilla becomes strong enough to destroy the universe?
Find out right now.
Yeah. Who would have thought Godzilla's weakness is math? Yeah, this show gets really weird, but it's lovable for it.
Yeah.
And as is always, should we start off with the human cast, Noah? or the human
Aye.
action?
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty. The human action. Surprisingly, only 2 characters throughout this whole show go through an actual character arc. That being Mei Kamino and Yun Arikawa. And we're definitely going to talk about that more in the monster action, but yeah, those are the only 2 in this show who get any actual character development. And I'm sorry, but I really don't like Mei Kamino's story in this because, I mean, I get it. I like the fact that they're trying to come up with ways that provide us realistic explanations as to why these giant monsters that really shouldn't be able to exist are starting to appear, but the way it's explained just kills it for me because all this science is explained and shit is through text and long, dragged out conversations between Yoon and Mei over the course of, like, over their phones texting. And it's just like, there's so much dialogue, you can genuinely forget that you're watching a Godzilla show at some points. And on it, like, I know that it's nothing new to the Godzilla franchise that, you know, you have to sit through nerds and scientists flapping their gums, but here it just seems like you're doing it for hours, so much so that you're not even really watching a giant monster show. However, that
Yeah,
is really one of the only few complaints I have about this show. And yeah, other than that, Mei and Yoon's characters are pretty well done, and I'm honestly hoping we see more of both of them in Singular Point Season 2 if we ever get one. So yeah, Noah, anything you'd like to say about the human action?
it's actually rather interesting for me because the humans still get quite involved with the kaijus, even physically.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and we'll
And
talk
also
about
the whole
Jet
subplot.
Jaguar here in just a second before we talk about the monster action too.
And also we have an entire subplot of a company trying to take something that's still mysterious, one could say.
Yes, I wonder if that could be
As
a second singular point inside of that meteorite, perhaps Ghidorah?
yeah.
Dude, if Singular Point Season 2 gives a tag team operation between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla taking down King Ghidorah, I will jump for joy and I will. Dude, that'll be the single coolest thing I see all year. With that being said,
I
Noah,
very agree.
would you like to talk about the monstros?
Yes, sir.
Alright, first of all, Jet Jaguar. I did not mention him in the characters because, frankly, he seems more like a kaiju than anything else in this show. But Jet Jaguar, he goes through quite a, or is it a she in this series?
It. I'm saying it because it's a robot. But then again, uh, I don't know. Fuck, I don't know. Jet Jaguar as a whole is confusing in this show, especially at the end.
Yeah. And yeah, honestly, the end could have been done a hell of a lot better. But yeah, Jet Jaguar, other than Mei Kamino and Yunarikawa, he also goes through. It also goes through a character arc and gets quite a bit of character development, even though it's essentially just a robot ran by an AI. And that is
Basically,
another point. Once again, just like in freaking the original anime trilogy, it's an anime. Why the hell does Godzilla himself, the title character of the show, not get any character development or story arc?
I'm guessing because they were trying to lean into more of the original Godzilla route with the whole destroyer of worlds type of thing.
Yeah. And yeah, bro, I mean, we're gonna talk about Godzilla more as a whole here in a second, but first,
I
let's go
mean,
ahead and talk about
if we do
Rodan.
think about it,
What?
Godzilla in this show is handled very similarly to Shin Godzilla.
Complete with 3 brand new forms, in fact.
Yep.
but we'll get to him in a minute. First of all, let's talk about Rodan. Rodan in this show is they're a mixed
Well,
package. First of
well,
all,
man, it's not a him. It's not a him. It's a day. It's a
yeah,
day.
yeah. Straight up, just like I said in the synopsis for this show, yeah, there are thousands upon thousands of Rodan in this show. Rodans are literally everywhere, and they start swarming in flocks of thousands, starting to destroy all major city population centers and shit, and it just turns into a freaking mess where basically the Rodans get so thick and so freaking like so high in numbers that they can literally blot out the sun without even using the red dust. And then there's the red dust, which is basically one of the pseudoscience aspects that I talked about with Mei Kamino, that all of the monsters in this show, with the exception of Anguirus, I think, secrete. And yeah, all of them secrete this shit, and apparently this is explained to be the reason why the monsters are the way they are, because apparently the monsters are described as being hyper evolved versions of animals that we have in the modern world today. I'm not too sure on that because, I mean, what kind of fucking animal would evolve into, Godzilla? But, details.
Details, to me smells.
Yeah. And as for the rodents, there's actually two different versions of them. One of them is a bigger and much stronger variant that basically is able to like they don't have any special powers, but they are bigger and they are capable of being a lot stronger than their smaller counterparts. But where their smaller counterparts lack in power, they make up for in numbers. And
Very much so.
yeah. And the thing is about the Rodans, I'm starting to think that the Rodans serve a greater purpose in this show if it continues, because think about it. The Rodans come and they like their sole purpose is to attack everything that they see, essentially. And they don't eat anything, even though they clearly need to in order to survive. And then they just die after a while without eating. They seem a
Yeah.
lot like the kaiju from Pacific Rim, whereas they were specifically designed to be freaking weapons instead of actual, like, living beings. So that leads me to believe that Godzilla maybe didn't create them, but may have been their alpha, and, he sent them to go do his bidding and essentially stabbed them in the back for it because he annihilates them all, or a good chunk of them. But now think about it. Without Godzilla around to tell them what to do, what are they gonna do? Maybe perhaps they could introduce the concept of a, Alpha Rodan that can basically take control of this army and lead them a hell of a lot better than, Godzilla did? No, what are your thoughts on the Rodan in this movie, in this show?
Well, I really don't have much to say in the Rodents. I just never found them that interesting, I guess.
Well, to be fair, you're right there because literally they're just pteranodons. The first Rodan species that we see is clearly a Quetzalcoatlus, just, red and looks a lot more like Rodan. Um,
Mm.
and the
No, no,
second
like,
version is quite literally just, just a freaking pteranodon. They're even tiny enough to go into, doors and shit, and tiny enough to rip off scenes from Jurassic Park. But, ultimately, though, I don't really see a problem with that, especially since it's an anime. Shit can get crazy, and Rodan can be far different, later than he is now. or than they are now.
True. But I will say, one of the Rodan versions, which I'm very sad, we only got to see so little of it as he got one-shotted.
Yeah.
The one that actually charged forth and attacked the Goji fucking died so fast.
Yeah, and that thing looked cool as hell. It looked demonic, man. Like, it looked demented as shit.
I know, and I'm sad. I mean, we could have gotten so much more of it, but no, he fucking got one-shotted, man. He got one-shotted by a fucking ring, man.
Yeah. However, the next monster. A lot more to say about Manda. The
Oh yeah,
mandas in this show, yes, there are also more mandas than one. The mandas in this show, despite the fact that they're basically nothing more than food for Godzilla, they look amazing. They look like freaking like sea serpents and shit, which is very true to their original design. And I'm gonna be honest here, bro. I think it's sad that we don't see more of the mandas in the show because I think that it would have been a very cool idea to see the mandas and to see them, like doing their thing out in the wild and shit because they seem like normal animals and they don't seem like they're out to specifically kill anything.
I mean, if we're being honest, man, we could have gotten so much more from the kaijus in general.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that. In fact, the director himself, one of the directors themselves, basically said that they didn't want to show that much monster action because they were afraid that the audience would lose interest in the monsters, and more specifically, Godzilla. It's almost like he doesn't know the fan base he was making this show for. However, that brings us to the last two monsters for this show. First of all, my boy returns! We got Anguirus up in the... Anguirus did not just get fucking killed by Jet Jaguar. God damn it! Noah? Noah?
Yes.
My boy just... He got killed, but he got killed by Jet Jaguar.
And he got less screen time than a technical new kaiju as well.
Yep. I wasn't even gonna talk about that one, but first off, Anguirus. Anguirus looks fine. He doesn't actually look like an armadillo. He looks more like a freaking dinosaur with spikes on his back, like almost like an Ankylosaurus or Stegosaurus. And interestingly enough, his spiked carapace seems to function more like, shell rather than actual spikes. And I swear to God, if they say something so stupid in later episodes to say that, oh, Anguirus clearly evolved from a type of turtle, I'm going to lose my shit. And then that brings us to technically the second singular point in this show. Salunga, Great Value Gabara.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
even I forgot its name at some point and start calling it that because
yeah. Yeah, Sarunga, I'm just gonna call it Sarunga. It's very clearly inspired heavily by Gabara, and honestly, I feel as though it either A, shouldn't have been in the show, or it should have gotten a hell of a lot less screen time. It's basically just a bunch of other monsters thrown into one and sold as a brand new thing. And, I mean, it's an interesting idea, but I just really don't like it. I mean, maybe it would have been cooler if they didn't use as much elements of Gabara, but just looking at this thing gives me Godzilla's Revenge flashbacks. However, Noah, that brings us to the single best part of the show, even if we don't get to see him much. Ladies and gentlemen, might I introduce you to Godzilla Ultima. First of all, let's go ahead and establish this. I feel like the red dust aspect of the show is overused way too much with Godzilla. I get the strong sense that the red dust is used to cover up unfinished work in the show, because in some areas it's so dense and so thick that you can barely even see Godzilla through it, and it just gets ridiculous because it's like we want to see Godzilla. We don't want to see Godzilla look like he's bleeding all over the place.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're right there.
yeah. That being said, though, Godzilla's first form, Godzilla Aquilus. This could have easily been Titanosaurus, and nobody would have complained. This thing looks straight up like Titanosaurus, and in fact, all three of Godzilla's initial forms are callbacks to older kaiju. And if you ask me, the first two are obvious when getting a good look at them, but the third one just doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
And Godzilla Aquilus, I mean, he doesn't even really have any powers except for the fact that he somehow can swim much faster than the Mon does, even though we never get to see that showcased in the show. Overall,
At
Godzilla
least he got a
Aquilus...
cool introduction.
What?
At least he got a cool introduction.
Oh, he did. And I mean, Godzilla Aquilus is a cool idea, but I wish we would have got more screen time of Godzilla's different forms and shit. And not only that, but his second form. His second form you don't even get to see. You get to see it twice. Once when its head gets a good shot, and once when it commits pseudo-suicide. Riveting kaiju footage of this thing. And yeah, dude, I mean, I just wish that freaking his second form would have gotten a hell of a lot more screen time, because it looked like Varen. It did, and honestly, with the Titanosaurus reference and the Varen reference in these two first forms, they wasted the potential of these things by not making them their own kaiju. And honestly, I mean, it's sad, but I kind of get it. And at the same time, I'm not justifying it, but it makes sense in the overall arc of the story. And then there's his third form, Godzilla Terrestrius, which is basically a callback to Gorosaurus. The only way you can tell that, though, is by the fact that it has green skin, because it looks nothing like Gorosaurus. Oh well,
Yeah.
at least we established that he has atomic breath. But now,
Kind of.
Noah, we get to the main man himself. Godzilla's
To
final
his
form.
final form.
Yes. Godzilla's final form, and the coolest that he has looked in the Reiwa era, period. Godzilla Ultima. Once you get through all the red dust and finally get to see Godzilla in his full glory and form, this man looks fucking amazing. Godzilla Ultima is such an interesting freaking design for the King of the Monsters. It essentially makes GMK look cuddly.
Damn.
And that man looked like a damn demon. This thing looks straight up like it could overthrow, the underworld and kill Satan. Because this thing, make no mistake, this Godzilla is pure evil. Just like the original
I mean,
Godzilla, and he wants nothing more than the destruction of all things. Now,
basically, yeah.
yeah. Now, it's never really explained whether or not the singular point Godzilla himself is going to become powerful enough to destroy the universe, or if he's just the conduit for something else to gain that power. But either way, the threat is real with this man, and once again, he barely gets any screen time. Though I will say that the times he is on screen and his first appearance in this show, Godzilla's final form, the first time you get to see it, it made my jaw drop. Because, yes, I get it, this is a watered down version of Shin Godzilla, but at the same time, you get a brief amount of, great choreographic storytelling here, as it's implied throughout the show that Godzilla is slowly increasing in strength. And when we first see Godzilla's atomic breath, we get to see that on full display, as it starts off not even strong enough to fully cut through a building, but the more he fires it and the longer it builds up power, the more powerful it becomes and the more capable it is of, just punching clean through buildings. And then it gets to later on in the show when it can just straight up, like Shin Godzilla and Godzilla from the legendary films, it can just slice clean through buildings like a knife through butter.
Basically.
Yeah. And
Just
I
a
like that
lot
about
more
this Godzilla because he
satisfying.
looks cool doing it too.
Yeah, I will also say this. It's just satisfying seeing that atomic breath just go through the buildings like that. It's just satisfying.
It is.
It's done so smoothly. Not some huge explosion. It's just.
Dude, just looking at that scene, I mean, yes, I get it. A lot of people give this scene crap because it is a watered down version of the Shin Godzilla film and his atomic breath in that movie, but at the same time, it's different because it's a great way to show cinematic storytelling with this particular Godzilla. And I'm going to be honest, bro. I really like the way they did Godzilla's atomic breath in this. And I like the design for Godzilla as well. He looks menacing. I think this is the most menacing Godzilla we've seen throughout the whole franchise. And that brings us to the climax of this show. What the hell, man? All that good shit we said about Godzilla, and they had to end it like this? Okay, here's how it basically goes. The little shit Pello 2. This little son of a bitch is literally a plot MacGuffin specifically designed to do whatever the hell the main cast needs him to do. Logic and physics aside, just, screw it, doesn't matter. And it's just sad because Pello 2 was an interesting idea, but at this point, I'm pretty sure he could have figured out a way to freaking defeat Godzilla on his own because, the power of plot is clearly the strongest ability this little shit has. And this little shit from the beginning
Strong with
of
plot he
the,
is.
what?
Strong with plot he is.
Yeah. And Pello 2, from the beginning of the show, he freaking, he's just established to be able to basically do whatever the hell he wants. And I get it, but at the same time, it's like that takes away from any of the suspense. Because it's like, okay, well, how is Pello 2 going to get him out of this one? And from the beginning of the show, they're given the answer to how to defeat Godzilla. Because, these archetypes and the past becomes the present and the present becomes the future, but time is all fucked up in this show because plot!
Yeah, this is one thing that a lot of people say about this show. It just has a real big problem with explanation and over explanation. Like, yes.
Yeah, and it's just dumb because it just seems stupid. And then in the end, once again, they were given the key to defeat Godzilla from the beginning, the code to make Jet Jaguar invincible, which somehow makes Jet Jaguar shoot up to a kaiju size so he can go toe-to-toe with Godzilla. Alright, the two biggest parts of the show just got introduced and are about to clash head-to-head in the final battle. This is going to be awesome, right? No.
Right?
No, it's not. Because Godzilla basically creams Jet Jaguar while Jet Jaguar holds him off a little bit. And Jet Jaguar, once again, it's another goddamn dialogue scene. The single coolest moment that should have been in this show, and the single most badass fight scene that we get, is completely destroyed by this overly long explanation about Jet Jaguar figuring out who he is and how he respects and loves Yu Narikawa, viewing him as his father, and how freaking just all that shit. And then somehow something happens that makes Jet Jaguar and Godzilla vanish into thin air, and all across Tokyo these giant blue crystals just sprout up everywhere.
Yeah. Like, what the fuck?
What the hell? Seriously, that's your climax? Like I said, I mean, I still think that this show is great, but just some of the flaws tear it down. And ultimately, I do, like, y'all know me, I'm a little biased towards the episode where Anguirus dies, because Anguirus is my boy. I do not like seeing Anguirus get disrespected, but overall, it does serve a point in the show. But just when it seems like it might become plot relevant, Anguirus dies. And, I mean, just... some of the show is really depressing, and some of the show is really good. Personally, I think the positives far outweigh the negatives. And, as a whole, I think Godzilla Singular Point is just... I think that if Season 2 is done better, then we could easily have one of the most iconic series or parts of the franchise Godzilla's ever been in right here. Just please, Singular Point Season 2, don't go in the direction that the anime trilogy did and just continue to make your movies worse and worse. Or your episodes worse and worse. And that brings us to the controversy section, Noah. Two controversies. One, once again, everyone says that because this Godzilla can destroy the universe, all of the freaking Ultima fanboys are saying, oh, this is the most powerful Godzilla there is. Guys, you don't need a character that can bench press the universe in order to have an effective story. Now, I get it. It's Godzilla. He's powerful. It's kind of a defining trait. But at the same time, you guys can't sit there and say, oh, well, he's the most powerful Godzilla in the world because I said, and no other evidence. And freaking, yes, Godzilla in this can destroy the universe, but there are other Godzillas out there that have power akin to, maybe better than his. And once again, just like
For
with Shin
example.
What?
For example, fucking Shin Godzilla, he can easily rival Ultima.
Yeah. Me personally, I don't think either of those guys are the strongest Godzilla, but I have no evidence to back it up, so I'm not gonna state it as an absolute fact. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I feel like an idiot for introducing the controversy sections of these videos because it's probably gonna get us screamed at more than anything else, but then there's the second controversy. Like we said, the frickin' dialogue scenes. My god, it just takes away from everything. And the biggest argument that fans of this show have to justify is, oh, well, Evangelion did it. I don't give a fuck about Evangelion, okay? I'm here to watch Godzilla. I'm not here to watch a freaking pseudoscience major that's not even 20 years old sit there and talk about how shit that shouldn't exist exists all of a sudden because we said. That being said, though, Noah, who would you recommend this show to? Unless you have anything else you'd like to say.
Before we do end this episode off, we can just quickly talk about a certain scene.
Which scene?
Just
Because there's a bunch.
the end, the post credit scene.
Aha, yes. Yeah, as I said before, when I said if Singular Point Season 2 gives us Godzilla and Mechagodzilla versus Ghidorah, I wasn't kidding, because at the end of this, they basically pull a Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, steal some bones of Godzilla from, some basement in some rich dude's laboratory and shit, and build a giant robot around it.
Yep.
Yep, there we go. And dude, that thing looks amazing. Just look at it. It's literally like, okay, that thing looks like a combination between Kiryu and freaking the Showa Mechagodzilla. Just look at that thing, dude. It's goddamn incredible.
And then the fucking whole nani moment is like with the old guy that technically people say predicted this whole catastrophe.
Yeah.
He was there. Like, isn't he like fucking 100 years old now? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it is anime, so they probably do have a reasonable explanation for that. But at the same time,
Reasonable.
what?
Yes, reasonable.
Yes.
Hmm.
Well, honestly, I'm gonna take that statement back because I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that a lot of this show has, like, real logic. But bro, I can't get to the point where I can really hate this show because for everything it does wrong, yes, it does have a ton of shit that it does wrong, but like I said, I think the positives outweigh the negatives. And
It does,
all in all,
honestly.
I think Singular Point is once again another gem. So, I mean, I think that 2021 was really a great year for Godzilla because we got an awesome anime that works. We got a kick ass rematch between Godzilla and Kong. And hopefully they don't completely fuck up Mechagodzilla like they did in Godzilla vs. Kong in Singular Point Season 2.
Honestly, I'd recommend it to at least teenagers and above because I swear to God, if children watch this, they're gonna be so confused with all the explanation.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think if children watch this, they're going to be paying attention at all because they're going to be slumped over in their seats like, when's Godzilla going to show up?
Yeah, I can honestly see that. I can honestly see that, man. I can honestly
Yeah.
see that.
And shit like that. Yeah, man. I mean, this show did waste its potential a bit, but honestly, it didn't do it so badly that it's just bad.
It just could have been worked on a bit more.
Yes, it could have very much been more polished and it could have had much better ideas. Um, and then, as for who I would recommend this show to, I'm gonna be honest, bro. First of all, obviously Godzilla fans, but I cannot in good conscience recommend science fiction fans to this because they're just gonna be sitting there and I can genuinely see science fiction fans looking at this show and going, holy shit, what the hell are they doing? That makes no... What is going on? Why? And just... I genuinely think that if given enough time, it could drive science fiction fans to the brink of insanity. I will say that I would recommend this show to more, like, adult audiences because, once again, I don't think children would be very invested in this show, and I really don't think that anyone besides, older demographics would be, interested at all in what's going on here. Um, and honestly, that's all I really gotta say about who can and can't watch this show, but it's not bad. I just wish it would have been done a hell of a lot better. So yeah, Noah, how's it feel to have all of the Godzilla franchise products up till now reviewed?
Well, let's just wait until 2024, man.
Yeah, that's no shit. Yeah, bro. Ladies and gentlemen, join us in just a little bit when we cover the MonsterVerse / Reiwa era recap, and hopefully after that we can get the franchise recap done as well. So, yeah, see you in just a bit, ladies and gentlemen. Man, it's been a goddamn fun and monster-filled ride.
Alright, y'all know the drill. Like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Y'all want more videos, right? More kick-ass shit? Well, good, because I want more views. Let's help each other on this.